Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. It's over 2 weeks now since the National Assembly transmitted the Electoral Act Amendment Bill to President Buhari for his assent. And there are anxiety now over what the president will do to the piece of legislation on his desk, considering some of the developments over the past days. It was reported that the president had written to INEC to inquire about the mode of primaries. Tonight, let's take a look at the issues and the anticipation ahead of President Buhari's assent to the bill. I'm being joined by Mr. Samson Itodo. He's the Executive Director of Yega Africa, a lawyer and election observer. We also have Honorable Mark Bila, a member of the House of Representatives and a chieftain of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on tonight. Let's begin the conversation. Perhaps we'll begin with Honorable Bila. Honorable Bila, on the floor of the House, your colleague, Honorable Abejide, raised a very critical issue. He said it was based on some rumors that the mode of primaries will cost several billions of naira, and I wanted to ask INEC what that meant. There seems to be some anxiety. Why the anxiety, though? Why do some of your colleagues think that the president may not assent to the bill?
Good evening, Shell, and thank you for having me on the program tonight. Let me start by saying that these are all speculations, and obviously there was a need for the House to support Honorable Leke's motion, because we have seen, even from the last meeting the ruling party had at the Villa, where the governors expressed disagreement with the position of the National Assembly with regards to direct primaries, it became important that the INEC chairman clear the air on what the concerns are. And the concerns basically are that it will be very expensive for the country to be able to for INEC to superintend direct primaries for all the parties that are eligible before the main elections. And there are also concerns about the transparency of direct primaries, and of course also concerns about litigation that might emanate from direct primaries. So these are fundamentally the concerns, and it's across both divides. It's not just within the APC alone. I have colleagues of mine too who are averse to the conduct of direct primaries, but considering the circumstances in the House at the moment, that position was still passed by both chambers of the House. So it is something that we will need to see and hear from the INEC chairman to be able to determine exactly if there is a concern in that regard. But personally, I would want to point out that ideally, in ideal circumstances, the direct primaries should be in the interests of the Nigerian people. It should be something that we should all espouse. It shouldn't be something that should cause us any concerns whatsoever. I understand the reservation certain people have, but if democracy is about the people and for the people, we should also look at how to correct those issues we think we might have with direct primaries. I also have my reservations and certain concerns about it, but you know, ideally, of course, if we're all sincere, even those who are against it, we know that that is what democracy should be, in terms of giving the people the opportunity to choose, you know, who will represent them in their parties.
So, a quick one before I go to Mr. Itodo. What does your mind tell you, based on the anxiety that we see, and that whether or not the president may sign? Do you think he may not?
Okay, well, my personal opinion right now is, you see, the ruling party is agitated by the decision of INEC to, and we must commend INEC, commend Mahmoud Yakubu and his team for showing that they are committed to providing Nigerians with credible elections. So the ruling party is concerned, from my own opinion, that passing this law would give them no chance for victory in the upcoming elections. Sincerely, that is my own opinion. But I want to also challenge Mr. President, who also, from what we heard regarding the Anambra elections, put his foot down about transparency and, credible elections, to also realize that he owes it a duty to this country to think above partisan inclinations and to the interests of this country. APC will come and go, PDP will come and go. He has served his term as a president. But our children, generations yet unborn, are dependent on this moment in history. Will he write his name in the annals of time as somebody who has espoused what is the best interest of the people? So if you ask me for my personal opinion, although he still has about 13 or 15 days based on provisions of Section 58, subsection 4 of the Constitution, which requires that he communicate back to the National Assembly within 30 days of his decisions not to assent or to assent within that period, so that necessary actions can be taken thereafter. But I think that the APC as a party is concerned about their chances of victory if they sign this into law. But I think the president can rise above. I want to give him the benefit of a doubt. He can rise above all those nuances and show the statesman that we hope that he can be, even at this time in the history of Nigeria.
Okay, so let me go to Samson Todo. Samson, you and your colleagues, you went to town sometimes last week, and you were a bit agitated. Some of your colleagues in the list said, look, they're worried about the turn of things. What worries you the most about the situation as we speak on the amendment bill?
Well, thank you very much, Shewa, and good evening, Nigerians. I think what's most concerning is the delay and the speculations and the feelers that we get from both ends, both from the presidency and from political parties on the stance on the electoral amendment, on the electoral bill. The truth is, we've got a good and perhaps one of the most progressive pieces of legislations in Nigeria today. And that electoral bill that was passed by the National Assembly and currently with the president is in congruence with the will and aspirations of Nigerians. And so if the president is a president of Nigeria and he cares about bequeathing to Nigerians a legal framework that guarantees the sanctity of the vote, then he need not waste any time but to assent to the electoral bill that is before him. This delays, again, still within the 30 days, is occasioning needless, needless speculations, needless uncertainties. Shown today makes it about 141 days to the 2023 elections. We've got FCT municipal elections in February of 2022. We have Ekiti and Osun elections that are just right before us. And so these legal uncertainties really create rooms for manipulation. And I hope that the president considers this moment very critical to our democracy. The truth is, the president has up to about 18th or 19th of December, but the National Assembly will be proceeding on recess sometime next week. And if he doesn't, indicate, and for me, indication will be if he doesn't assent to this, it will mean that by January of 2022, we will still have a process that is not concluded. And this has grave implications for planning for forthcoming elections as well as the 2023 elections. So it's disturbing. More worrisome is the fact that this is the first time that the National Assembly adopted a collegiate approach towards amending the Electoral Act. The Minister of Justice, INEC, the both chambers adopted a joint approach. They were all involved in the amendment process. And so if the Attorney General's office was involved in the process up till this moment, I see no reason why we should delay, or the president should delay in assenting to this. Yes, he's consulting with all stakeholders, but this week is very, very critical, and he has the responsibility and an opportunity, to assent to this bill so we begin actual preparations for the 2023 elections. But this further delay and speculations and suspicions that are being peddled in the public space is very worrying. And Shem, we must also put on record that based on our understanding, the president didn't ask INEC or the relevant agencies to comment on specific provisions in the bill as it relates to cost or a particular provision. That was not the content of the letter. The letter from the president to these agencies was to provide considered views on the bill, on the general provisions of the bill. So if the president has not requested for comments on specific aspects of the bill or in relation to cost, then I see no reason why the president should delay in assenting to the bill. He should go ahead, and as we have read, in the newspapers today, that INEC has written to the president and has okayed the bill, then the president should go ahead and assent to the bill. To do otherwise, honestly, I'll say it's a repudiation of public interest, because this bill before him represents the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians.
So one will wonder, whatever the president is doing now, procedurally, they are in order, isn't it? Yes.
When you say procedurally and by convention, yes, in a previous amendment process, he is consulted with agencies of government. But the point being made is these same agencies of government were part of the amendment process, especially the Office of the Attorney General. There were several retreats that were held. The Attorney General was carried along. And so to go back and ask the Attorney General for comments on considered views on the bill gives us room to ask fundamental questions. But like Honorable Bila said, the president has an opportunity to rise above personal or party interest, to look at what is in the interest of Nigerians. And at this particular moment, for a bill that legitimizes electronic transmission of results, for a bill that grants INEC the power to review election results that are declared under duress and under controversial circumstances, for a bill that fundamentally changes timelines for elections, allows for early submission of list of candidates, this is the perfect bill for Nigeria at this point. And so the president should sign and assent to this bill in the best interest of our democracy.
Does it make you feel uncomfortable, the communication or the letter or the inquiries that the president was seeking to make with INEC? Does that make you feel uncomfortable?
Is that to me or to Honorable Bila?
No, to you, Samson.
No, honestly, it doesn't make me feel uncomfortable. I think that, yes, you should request comments from those agencies. My concern just stems from the fact that this is taking too long and it's creating room, for speculations. And as you can read in the public domain, there are pressure from different quarters, whether from the governors or from different political parties, that the president do not assent to this bill. Now, those people who are alleged to be pressurizing the president are doing so for their own primordial, sectional and personal interest. It's not in the interest of Nigerians that the president delays assent to this. He's also creating room, for these individuals or institutions that do not have the interest and the public interest at heart to try to change his views and his position on the bill. He has said that he is committed to bequeathing to Nigerians a legal framework that guarantees the sanctity of the vote. Now he has the legal framework before him. If he delays further, bearing in mind that the National Assembly will proceed on recess next week, in the event he doesn't accelerate his assent, we might end up with a bill that is will still maintain an inchoate status by January next year. And if the National Assembly proceeds on recess, it won't resume until the second week of January. And that's few weeks before the FCT municipal elections. That's also few weeks before the commencement of the primaries for the Ekiti and Osun elections. So this amendment is time sensitive. That's why we expect that by this week, the president should have assented to the bill. I don't expect that the president would decline to the bill before him, because that bill is a representation of the will and aspirations of Nigerians. Except if the president is telling Nigerians that when it comes to a decision on electoral amendments, the interest of certain individuals supersedes the collective interest of the people. And in that case, he will be acting in variance with the commitment that he has made that this bill, which he would assent to, will be a bill that reflects the will and aspirations of the Nigerian people.
Honorable Bila, if you look at it, the president has 30 days as provided by law, after which, if he doesn't assent to it, the National Assembly has a power, and the law specifically states the powers of the National Assembly, the numbers that is needed, I think, is two-thirds to be able to veto the president. As far as we know, and as far as we have it now, the president hasn't done anything wrong. So the question is, why is everyone on the edge about what the president has not done or what he's doing? He's done everything right, based on the law, based on process, isn't it?
Yes, in terms of constitutional provisions, yes, he's still within the time frame to assent to the bill. We all understand that. But Shea, it would be interesting for you to note, because that is why some of us are also, agitating for some constitutional amendment in that regard. The process of, passing a bill, especially this particular bill, like my brother Samson has said, involved those agents and agencies of government that he is presently supposedly consulting. In the U.S. legislature, for instance, although these days is no longer the bastion of democracy per se, if I might say so on a lighter mood, but it takes only 10 days for your information for the president to assent to a bill, just 10 days. Because for some of us as National Assembly members, we feel undermined, we feel slighted, that it appears as if even though we have risen above partisan politics to present a bill that, is in the best interest of the Nigerian people, the president doesn't seem to be confident in the work that we have done, which is why in the U.S. legislature, all it requires is 10 days. After 10 days, if the House is in session and he does not assent, it becomes law automatically. But if they go on recess, then it's what they call pocket veto, and then they come back, and then the two-thirds majority applies like it is in our own legislature, as it is in Section 5 of, subsection 5 of Section 58 of the Constitution. So if in other climes 10 days is sufficient for a president to pass legislation, you can now understand the agitation of Nigerian people, especially in a situation where those same agencies, the Attorney General, INEC, and everybody else involved was part of the process. So what and who is the president consulting with, again, at this point, if it isn't because of petty, in my own opinion, partisan nuances and concerns, which as a nation we should rise above. I believe this administration, above everyone else, should appreciate what transpired in 2015 when they assumed power in this country. Nobody knows what can transpire tomorrow. Why are we still delaying on something that will be in the best interest of the country? So, Shaun, these are the reasons why the agitation. And of course, like Samson also said, there are also other things that are hinging on this act. Upcoming elections. Wouldn't we like to have this law in place before the municipal and the other elections in other states? Wouldn't we want to have this passed in time so that based on the provisions of the law, even financial considerations and required funds can be put in place. These are things that the president should be aware of.
All right.
So these are reasons why you can see there's a lot of agitation and a lot of concern being expressed across the country.
Honorable Mark Gbela, member of the House of Representatives representing Benue State and a member of the PDP, and Mr. Samson Itodo is the Executive Director of IAGA Africa Election Observer and a lawyer. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming through tonight. We do hope that that bill will be assented, and when it does, well, Nigerians will know the importance of what is being captured in that new piece of legislation. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching tonight. I'm Sean Wakimaloe. Bye for now.